What is up, Bucs Nation and Bleacher Report? You are watching the Bleacher Report app live stream version of the Loose Cannons podcast. You can find us on YouTube, youtube.com/at Loose Cannons podcast. And of course, you can also listen to us on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever you choose to download and listen to your audio podcasts. It is the winners and losers recap review of the Buccaneers Bills Thursday night football matchup from earlier tonight. I'm your boy Sammer, like I said, of the Loose Cannons podcast. I'm supposed to go over the winners and losers of what happened in this game. And unfortunately, it's a bit difficult to pick winners when a game goes down the way it did tonight. I'm not a huge fan of how it played out, obviously. I'm going to go ahead and drop my poll here for you guys to kind of give me a little bit of feedback as to what the most frustrating part of this team's struggles are currently for you. No use of Mike Evans, the predictable play calling, Baker's up and down play, or defense on third down. So we'll just dive right in here. I think the most frustrating thing about watching this game tonight was heading into it. If you guys watch us on YouTube, I spoke about wanting to see this team go out on that field and not necessarily have to win to make me feel better, but show me some pride. And when I say show me some pride, it's not just the players. It's the coaching. It's the scheming. It's the game planning. It's the effort on the sidelines as well as inside the lines. And so I saw pride from the guys on the field, but I don't think I felt pride from the guys calling the plays tonight. And it's just so frustrating to watch a team like the Bills, who have a Gabe Davis and they have a Stephon Diggs, and they were kind of shorthanded outside of those two guys. They don't really have a third option with their tight end out on the injured, list for the last couple of weeks. And so you don't expect a team like that to be able to fire on all cylinders. Then on the flip side, you see a team like the Bucs, who have a very fast and a very capable playmaker in Rachaad White when he's in space. Then you have Mike Evans, who's basically a Hall of Famer. Then you have Chris Godwin, again, another playmaker, sure-handed guy. I mean, these guys are legitimate starting wide receivers on any other team, and yet we don't have a scheme to get them the ball. And I don't want to hear about, oh, they're covered. Oh, there's guys bracketing. Oh, they're rolling their coverage. They're double. You don't think that defenses know that Travis Kelce is going to get the ball? What happens? Travis Kelce gets the ball 7+ times a game. You don't think teams know that Cooper Kupp is going to get the ball? Guess what? Cooper Kupp gets the ball 7 to 10 times a game. Same thing with Justin Jefferson. Same thing with Stephon Diggs. Same thing with A.J. Brown. The list goes on, and those guys still get the ball. The point of an offensive coordinator is to get the ball in the hands of his playmakers, the best guys on his team, to give him a chance to score points, move the ball, convert first downs, and keep your offense on track. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is at that point. If you can scheme guys open and your guys capable enough to just throw the ball to them, it's not that difficult. We see plenty of teams operate like that and make plays. And then you got teams that elevate that and have a quarterback that can make anybody better around them, right? And so we're not going to pretend that the Bucs have that right now. And Baker Mayfield had his struggles tonight. I think he should have thrown the ball a couple of times. Other times there was almost nowhere to go with the ball, again, for the third week in a row. And so, like, Dave Canales has got to figure this out, man. You cannot go in and week out and do the same thing over and over and over and over again and not think that we've got to change. I loved what I saw when they decided to throw the ball to Rachaad White on design plays, or get the ball out of Baker's hand quickly, let Rachaad be out in space, and turn that into an extension of the run game. Great. It turned out great. Guy was amazing. He had basically over 100 yards, or I think he had over 100 yards combined from the lines from scrimmage, catching the ball and running the ball. And they did kind of run the ball a bit more effectively tonight too. So that's not just the problem. And that's not the excuse anymore. And so you see a lot of this, around the league where guys get the ball to their guys, and the Bucs struggled tonight. They really struggled against a defense that's riddled with injuries. They don't have their best corners on the field, and the Bucs couldn't get the ball to Mike Evans. You're telling me if he's covered, you can't figure out a way to put him in a bunch formation where he's the third guy in the back, where he's got no one touching him off the line of scrimmage? Design plays to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. That's literally all you have to do when you have a guy like Mike Evans. And then you have a guy like Chris Godwin, who's kind of been the bailout go-to guy for Baker the last couple of weeks. But again, nothing designed to get the ball to him. He's kind of been a dump-off machine. It's inexcusable, man. It's inexcusable in week 8 of the NFL season to not know how to get the ball to your dudes, to your studs. These aren't backup wide receivers. This isn't Trey Palmer. This isn't Devin Tompkins, who you can't trust to get open and you can't trust to read the defense properly. These are guys who know what they're doing and they know how to make plays, but they can't do that if the ball's not in their hands. And I'm not going to say that's all on Canales. I'm sure there's going to be all 22 film that shows Mike Evans getting open at times and shows Chris Godwin getting open at times, shows other guys getting open at times. But listen, depending on the progression and the read and the order of the progression, maybe those guys aren't getting open at the right time. But still, you got to have plays where it's 1, 2, 3, get the ball out to your guy, not Trey Palmer, to Mike Evans. Like, this is inexcusable. And that's the biggest thing I could take away from tonight's game, was that we didn't have a game plan on offense to get the ball down the field and make things simple. It seems like we're making things too difficult, but they're not. They shouldn't be so difficult. Like, then you go look at the other side of the ball, and you got the Bills moving the ball down the field almost effortlessly. We're blitzing, but we're playing soft coverage on the backside of it, so the hot route's getting an easy 5 to 10 yards every single time. Again, it doesn't make sense. I don't understand it. Or is it the corners that are doing that and it's not Bowles coaching? Is it Bowles' scheme, hoping that they get there and they're just trying to keep things in front of them? Doesn't really make sense when it's 3rd and 5 to do that. But I don't know enough ball to compete, to have that, to have that debate. But nonetheless, it seems so effortless for these other teams to get the balls to their guys. Gabe Davis is not a dude on the level of the A.J. Browns and Cooper Kupp's and Mike Evans of the league. Yet he had 9 targets tonight. Mike Evans had 3 targets up until that play in the end zone that bounces off the guy's helmet into his hands for a touchdown. That's his 4th target of the game and his 2nd catch. That's inexcusable in a game that was 10-10 right before halftime. So we got to figure this out, man. Like, I like that they fought to the end. I like that they put effort in there. They weren't giving up. But at the end of the day, they got to be coached to be in a position to win. It's for that effort to matter and for that effort to mean something and actually translate. Yeah, they scored 18 points. Man, they scored 18 points, and they could have scored that 18 point probably 5 minutes sooner. But the lack of aggression, the lack of urgency in that 4th quarter, just mind-blowing. I'm like, where's the coach? Get on it. Go. Move the ball. Why are you huddling? When the defense is celebrating a sack, you could still go to the line of scrimmage and force the issue. Like, this lack of urgency from the offense and the body language and just their approach does not seem right. They need a fire lit under their asses. And I don't know how you do that right now. I don't know if that's the mini buy. I don't know if you can make some wholesale changes. Obviously, you can't. I don't think it's a quarterback issue. I really think it's a merging of everything. And I think they need to figure it out. I don't know what the answer is, but I know that it can't be that difficult because I see tons of guys in the league doing it. I see teams like the Steelers figuring it out with Kenny Pickett. Like, it's not that difficult. And you got teams winning with P.J. Brown. So the offensive side tonight, disgusting, absolutely unacceptable, just absolutely pathetic, inexcusable. I just don't understand how you put that on tape week in and week out for the last 2.5, 3 weeks, and then you just can't figure it out. You can't solve it. It's not difficult, right? I'm going to kind of hop in here, in and out of the chat. Sorry, guys. I'm not paying too much attention to what you guys are saying, but I'll scroll up here a little bit. If Godwin turns around 1 or 2 seconds sooner, he catches that Hail Mary. Listen, the Hail Mary didn't matter, all right? You're not going to win on a Hail Mary, all right? It's like a 1 out of 20th chance. It's probably worse than that. But if he turns around and doesn't turn around, they're not going to call the flag. They're not going to throw it. Like it is what it's just not going to happen, right? And so the other thing I want to talk about too is the defensive side of the ball. Listen, defense did a lot of good things tonight, but they also did a lot of ugly things. And the thing that really bothered me was that the Bills, smart, man, really smart game plan, came out there and said, let's go into hurry up offense. Let's keep these guys from rotating. Let's keep them from getting their guys in and out. And let's just roll down the field. And next thing you know, the Bucs defense is tired by like right before halftime, basically. They're gassed because this team was just basically making the same 11 guys stay on the field, and they were moving the ball, and the Bucs had to kind of play soft. It's hard to be exotic when you can't get in the huddle and call a play as Todd Bowles. So you kind of have to, rest on the front 4 or 5 or 3, depending on how you're set up, rushing the passer and getting to him. And it didn't work out. There were some times we got to him, but again, soft coverage on the backside. Other times we didn't get to him, and he had too much time. And Ryan Neal not covering the tight end, not covering our wide receiver, taking a bad angle. I mean, he had two massive plays tonight. One of them created a massive first down that got them in position to score their first touchdown, and then the other one is taking a terrible angle towards the tight end for no reason to the wrong side, and then having him cross over his body, and next thing you know, he's wide open, can't catch up to him. Rookie tight end, by the way, beating him for a touchdown. Like, we've talked about this, I feel like, for the last 3 or 4 weeks now. It's time for that Ryan Neal experiment to end. I'm like, it's done. I can't see how they're watching this and saying it's okay. It's unacceptable, and it has been a sore on this defense, and it's clear that teams are just doing things to get him out of position, to confuse him, and to expose that weakness on the defense. Like, these teams are coached up by smart people. Like, they're going to find what you don't do well, and they're going to expose that. And you have to know what that is and do something else better to make up for it, or hide your deficiencies. The Bucs haven't done that on defense the last 3 weeks. And Ryan Neal is just glaring, just an absolutely glaring issue. I didn't like a lot of what Jamel Dean was doing tonight. I didn't like some of Carlton Davis was. Finally, he kind of woke up and started playing aggressively. And you know what? You got to tip your hat sometimes when Stephon Diggs makes a good play. And tip our hat to the Bills tonight. They out-coached us. They outplayed us. They out-schemed us. And they out-efforted us. And that's not to knock on the Bucs on their effort. But you know what? They gave a little bit more. And so sometimes you lose a game like this. And if we would have lost this game and I said, you know what? We went out there. We looked competent. We looked competitive. And we had pride, then I'd be like, you know what? We lost to a better team. Tonight, we lost to a better team, but we didn't look competent. We didn't look competitive. And we definitely left some pride on the field, but that's it. I mean, like, I need to see competence. And when I say competence, I see it from the understanding what you're doing wrong and what they're doing, and figuring out a way to react to that. It's a chess game. I understand. Sometimes they're going to get you, but you got to get them back. And people are going to point to the fact that we didn't let them score after that second touchdown, or that second touchdown on the back-to-back possessions from the first half to the second half. But you could tell the Bills kind of just took their foot off the gas and let's get out of here. The game's basically over. This offense isn't going to beat us. And they were right? So, you know, I still think the defense has a lot of good things there. Antoine Winfield Jr., absolute stud. Makes a play that basically is the only reason the Bucs even scored a touchdown in this game, honestly. That last touchdown that they scored to make it 18 with a 2-point conversion, again, I don't even want to count that, just because, again, it was like the defense is basically saying, you want to go down the field and take 7 minutes off the clock when you need to score twice, and you want to dick and duck your way down the field? Cool. Do it all you want. It was like 17 plays, 60-something yards. That's like, come on. It's a joke. It's a joke. It's not acceptable. And whether that's on Baker or the coaching or the guys in the huddle, the entire offense, they got to understand you got to have a spark. You got to get a chunk play. You got to move down the field. You can't huddle. You can't take your time. You can't get up celebrating the third down, first down, like convert. You can't do that. None of these things can happen. You are in a game in an attempt to win, and you're down 2 scores. You don't have time to lollygag. And so, kind of jumping all over the place here, but let me go back to what I was saying about the defense. Antoine Winfield, I'll chalk him up as a winner tonight. Absolute stud. Just was doing everything he could to help his team, like he has been every single week this season. I can't stress enough how important he is to this team, how important he is for the team to keep him after this season. And he's basically holding this defense together right now. On the flip side, Devin White didn't look good again tonight. And I don't think it's an effort thing. I really do think he's injured. And if you're injured, fam, dude, you got to take yourself out if you're going to hurt your team. Because Josh Allen scores on that touchdown, and you watch the replay and you're like, why isn't Devin going 100% right at him like a missile, like we've seen him so many times in so many different games and so many important plays in his past, in his career so far, and he's not. And so you're like, there's no way he's just going to loaf on a contract year. I don't like it. I don't like the way it looks. Get him off the field. If he's not healthy, get him off the field. I'll take somebody else who can run at full speed over Devin White. No offense to Devin. It's not a knock on him, but at some point you got to say, I'm not helping this team right now, and I have to get off the field. Contract or not, I got to get off the field and take a couple off. I mean, if he didn't play tonight, it wouldn't have mattered, right? So it kind of looked the same way. And let's talk about Todd Bowles. Let's talk about Todd Bowles. It's no secret that he's been on the Loose Cannons podcast, which a reminder, please hit the like button on our videos, please. And if you're new, go ahead and subscribe after this stream is done. That's youtube.com/@loosecannonspodcast. And of course, find us on iTunes and Spotify and your favorite audio listening platforms. Let's talk about Todd Bowles. I think Todd Bowles is outcoached tonight. And, I don't think it's so much an X's and O's thing. I think he was outcoached just from a approach. The Bills came out there and said, you know what, you could be as aggressive as you want and as exotic as you want, but we're going to go ahead and stick in this hurry-up offense and kind of keep you vanilla. And it worked. And the Bucs didn't adjust. They didn't figure out a way to fake an injury and slow things down. They didn't come up with any way to stop them to where they had to huddle because they were getting quick little 5, 6, 7-yard gains, moving down the field. If it wasn't for the Bucs' great red zone defense on 2 of those possessions in the first half, this game's probably 42-18 as opposed to 27-18. So, you got to tip your hat to the other team. You got to say they came out with a great game plan. They understood what they had to do. But Todd Bowles, aside from the defensive side of the ball, I got to question the time management. I got to question the aggressiveness on fourth down. I got to question when we're not going for fourth down and when we are going for fourth down. I got to question accepting the delay of game penalties when the other team is on fourth down and trying to create create 5 extra yards for their punter to pin us within the 5-yard line again. All of these things have to be questioned. And it's not a personal thing, right? But man, when you are down and you have a chance to shoot a 59-yard field goal or go for it on fourth down, or before that, go for a 51-yard field goal or go for it on fourth down, you got to go for it on fourth down, man. The analytics tells you got to go for it on fourth down. The momentum thinking in the old school way tells you got to go for it on fourth down. Whether you make that 3 or not, the ultimate flip side of that is you're going to give the other team a short field. And what happened? The Bills were down the field in 3 plays after that missed field goal to start the game. That cannot happen. You have to play and call aggressive natured, moves in these games in 2023 at the 2023 level. You can't go for it on 4th and 1 when you're at the 2-yard line of the defense. You got to go for it sometimes in that dead man area. You got to. And a lot of those plays tonight kind of decided the game. They just didn't allow the Bucs to be aggressive, and it didn't allow the Bucs to kind of steal momentum and to keep things rolling, because I think the offense was really close to kind of getting things moving. And they get to a 4th and 6, and you're like, oh man, this is a 50-yard field goal. I think I want to go for it, because that's how you give your team confidence. And if you trust your defense, man, you trust them that way. You don't trust them on a missed field goal. You trust them on a bad 4th down call. You go for it. You get, and you know what? Worst case scenario, you get it. You go through and out the next, 3 plays. You still kick the field goal, but at least you kick a field goal that has a higher percentage of going in. And if you miss it, it's not as bad. And that's mind-boggling to me that we still cannot figure out where to go for 4th down. Later on in the game, you're down 2 scores and you don't go for 4th down. Then you fake the 59-yard field goal just to get them to jump off sides, and you change your mind. They call timeout, by the way, before that play. So here's my thing. I'm going down the field. I'm in hurry up. I don't have any more timeouts left. My team is lollygagging their way in the 2-minute drill on top of that, by the way. Another instance where there's another lack of sense of urgency again, right? You get to this point, you make them think you're going for 4th down, then you hustle the field goal unit out, and the Bills are caught kind of flat-footed. They have to call timeout. You made them call timeout. Now you have a chance to go and pick out a play that will get you a 1st down. And instead of that, you trot your field goal team out there again, and you pretend you're going to go for a 59-yard field goal. You don't go for a 59-yard field goal. You take a delay game, and you punt it. Albeit the Bills ended up kneeing the ball and going into halftime. But that is a game or a play right before halftime. You got the ball just outside of 2 minutes. You're down 7 points. Your team manages to move the ball to about the 50-yard line, 40-something yard line, and you don't push the pedal. I don't understand that. If you trust your defense, you push you go down the field and you get aggressive. I don't care if it's the Bills. I don't care if they have 3 timeouts. Run the ball. They'll use their timeouts if you run the ball. So it's, again, it does not add up to me. It doesn't make sense. And there's just too many instances where this comes up. And I don't know if it's Canales. I don't know if it's Todd Bowles. I feel like the head coach and the offensive coordinator put their heads together when it comes to 4th down, right? So Like these moments in games have to be more aggressive for a team that has to play perfect and perfectly complementary football on both sides of the ball. You have to be aggressive on top of that. You can't be, soft. You can't be weak-minded in your approach. I'm not saying that they're weak-minded. I'm not saying that these coaches are soft, but the way they approach things at times feels like they're not confident enough in their team's reaction to a failed move or a failed aggressive decision. And so in this case, that fourth down stuff, I'd like to see them address that. I don't anticipate that that's going to be a change of philosophy overnight or going into this mini bye. So don't hold your breaths. But in this game tonight, I feel like it was a turning point every time it came up. And man, if we could have just taken back that missed 50-yard field goal and gone for it there, I really think we probably get to the end zone. And the game feels different, right? The Bucs somehow managed to get back 10-10 there in the second quarter, thanks again to Antoine Winfield Jr. So it's just one of those things where you're right there, man. And so I'm not overly disappointed in this loss, but I am a little bit annoyed in the fact that we could have been in this game. We really could have. But it's the lack of the use of our tools that's really the frustrating part here. And I'm sure a lot of people here will say the same thing. I'm going to go ahead and read some of these chats. Sorry, guys. I've been kind of in my little rant here to get this out. Vita Vea was missed tonight. Yeah, he was. They seem to be able to get a really clean 4 to 5 to 6 yards almost every time they handed the ball off. I didn't like the way that Josh Allen was able to find a space in the middle there. That's typically space that Vita Vea occupies. But then there's moments where if you go man to man and you know that they have a running quarterback, why don't you have your middle linebacker playing a spy? Instead, everybody's got their backs to the quarterback, and he's got 10, 15 yards to run if he chooses, which he did, and he gets a first down, I think, on a couple of different plays. So, again, being out-coached, schematically, like the game plan just didn't feel like it was catered for this game. And don't tell me it was a short week, because they game plan weeks ahead when they know they have a short week, so there's no excuse there. I know we wouldn't get to Allen without Vita. Yeah, it's tough sledding getting to him usually regardless, but when you don't have one of your guys that ties up, 2 blockers and makes things easier for their edge guys, it's definitely going to be harder. Pete Carmichael could have called better plays. That name escapes me. I'm thinking it's the dude calling plays for the Steelers. Brady wasn't going to play for Bulls because he's a timid coach and lacks that killer instinct. I refuse to believe that, only because he's got a killer instinct on the defensive side of the ball. He's known to be a blitzing guy. He's very aggressive on that side of the ball. So his lack of aggression on the other side of the ball, I don't understand it. And I think it's just old school ball coaching. I think that's really all it is. But I thought when Canals came in here that he was going to probably try to sway him a little bit and be, he's younger, he's more aggressive, he's a little bit more new age. Maybe that would change, but it still feels like maybe they're not confident enough in their offense to even go for these fourth downs, which again it's pretty scary to say, considering you have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. For Mike Evans to not have more than 3 targets up until the last drive of the football game for your team, that's crazy. Gabe Davis had 9 targets. It's Gabe Davis. Stephon Diggs, I believe he had 8 or 10 targets. Their tight end had more targets than Mike Evans. I mean, like, it's inexcusable. And to say, again, like I said earlier, oh, he's covered. Oh, everybody's taking him away. Man, the Chiefs have one receiving option, and his name is Travis Kelce, and he catches like 7 balls in the first half. You don't tell me the defenses know that he's the only option they're going to throw to? That's not an excuse. You can create ways to get the ball in the hands of your playmakers. We created ways to get the ball in Rachaad White's hands. He makes the biggest plays of the night, aside from the Mike Evans catch, which I kind of don't want to count because it was that weird fluky last drive of the game type of scenario, almost like garbage time. Came off of Rachaad White. He had a big run up the middle in the first half, and then he had that screen pass off when they had the turnover from Winfield, got him down to like the 2 or 3 yard line. Like, why did we go away from that? I don't understand some of this. And now, we've talked about a lot of stuff on offense and some of the stuff on defense. We haven't talked too much about Baker Mayfield. I think he's been up and down. It's hard for me to blame everything that's going wrong on him because, one, I don't know the progressions. I don't know what the play call is. And I also don't know what he's seeing from his vantage point. So a lot is being made of his height. A lot is being made of, his decision making, or if he can see things or he can't see things, if he's going off his progressions, and if once he's getting through the first 2 or 3 reads, he's not knowing what to do. Again, I don't know that stuff. And I don't think anybody who's watching film can tell you those things unless they're in that room with those guys calling those plays. So with that being said, too often he's hitting his back foot, first read, the ball's not coming out. Is that because the guys are covered? Is that because the Bills are basically only rushing 4 guys and basically creating enough pressure to get in his face and then dropping everybody back there in zone or man and creating tough lanes to throw the ball through, making it very just congested and trafficy to where he can't pull the trigger because he doesn't want to turn over the ball? Or is it timidness, afraid to throw an interception and not pulling the trigger when the guy's there and he's not, or is he just not seeing it? So all these things can be said, and then probably all 3 of these things are happening at the same time. And it's not one thing or the other. It's not Baker and not the plays. It's not the receivers and the route running and the timing. I think it's all of those things. That doesn't mean that Baker can't be better and shouldn't be better. That doesn't mean that Canales can't be better and shouldn't be better. It doesn't mean that the wide receivers can't be and shouldn't be better. Again, it's just not clicking right now. There's just a timing issue that's not working. I will say something that did look better tonight. The running game. It did look better. It looked better specifically on the left side behind Aaron Stinney, behind Nick Leverett, behind, of course, Tristan Wirfs. So I think maybe they should consider going the route of either of those 2 guys at left guard and kind of seeing where it goes, because they had more push and they created more space. And again, they are going against a team in the Bills that isn't the greatest against the run and had their interior linemen struggle. And I believe there are injuries on there as well. So maybe you got to take it with a grain of salt, but it was still a positive thing to see, albeit it didn't really matter at the end of the day. LC Leprechaun says, first rule of leadership, it's always your fault. I haven't listened to the post game, but I'm pretty sure Baker's going to say it's his fault. I'm pretty sure Todd Bowles will say we got to coach him up better. And I'm pretty sure Dave Canales at some point will say, I got to be better. That only goes so far, man, if you don't make changes. That's like that. Like, you could say a lot of things, but eventually you've got to do things to back up what you're saying. And I've got to see results from those things. I've got to see some sort of growth, some sort of pattern or approach that is showing me, okay, they're trying. A lot of what we saw tonight still felt like what we've seen the last 2 weeks, running up the middle, getting stuck. A lot of teams get pinned in their end zone area in that 5-yard line, and teams come out swinging. They throw a quick hitch. They get out of it. We pinned the Bills, and they got a first down on the very first play out of the inside of their 5-yard possession. Like that, it's not the end of the world to be pinned in back there. This isn't 1985 anymore where you got to run the ball and punt it or hope to break one. You can call a play that's aggressive enough with your playmakers, get them the ball, and maybe they advance and get you a first down. Now you got some breathing room and you can roll down the field. Guess what? When they did that in that 4th quarter drive that got them down the field for that touchdown that I don't think mattered, they were able to move the ball. So, again, there's proof in all of this. So, it's the mentality, it's the aggressiveness, it's trusting too much that your defense is just going to bail you out time and time and time again, and they have to be perfect, and it's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen to where your team is going to be perfectly complementary week in and week out. Other teams can win without being complementary, and when they are complementary, they blow teams out. The Bucs have to play complementary for a chance to win a game, and that is a recipe for what we're seeing right now on the field. Same as SoCal. Bowles was soft for not going for that field goal at the end of the first half. Agreed. I would have probably not kicked the field goal. I would have just gone for it on 4th down. You can't get 6 yards when it matters, man. Come on. You got to be able to get 6 yards. You have Chris Godwin. You have Mike Evans. And you have Rachaad White, who can catch the ball and make people miss. He rarely goes down on the first tackle. Gregory White says, sounds like Dak saying what we want to hear instead of doing it. Yeah, Dak says a lot too. I agree. He also doesn't show it when he's had trouble and he has to advance and make things better week in and week out. Are we going to act like Bedford had Mike Evans on clamp mode though? No, we're not. Because even if like Mike Evans is one of those guys, if he's covered, he's open. Like you just got to be able to get the ball to him. He's got a ridiculous catch radius. He's got good hands. You just got to keep him engaged and you've got to go at him. You could see in his body language, he was frustrated. He was frustrated that he's not being targeted. He's frustrated that maybe he is getting open and Baker's not seeing him, or Baker's already moved on to his next read. A lot of things, again, that are kind of going wrong for the Bucs at any given moment. If it's not one thing, it's the other. and not everything's going right at the right time. Every drive that we start inside the 5, Buckfan 4055 says, every Buck drive that we start inside the 5 the entire season, it's run for 1 on first and second down, then incomplete pass. Way too predictable. The one time they didn't do that, they moved the ball down the field. Again, proof is in that pudding. Elsie Lepcott says, we gave up our first down, Cuzzy. Okay. Same so even if we make the playoffs with Baker, I think we will do what Chiefs did with Alex Smith. They still went for Mahomes in the draft. Listen, if you have a chance to draft a guy and let him sit, or it's a project, or you see a guy that is the dude, you can move up without giving up too many assets and grab him, you have to. I don't think anyone's sitting here looking at Baker and thinking this is our guy for the next 20 years or 10 years. Even if he has a great year, it's still a 5-year window, in my opinion. So you still got to draft a guy. Still got to draft a guy. They were comfortable with Alex Smith, but they saw Pat Mahomes and said, let's go get him. And they did. And obviously, you know how that story ended. Mike Evans is a beast, says Gregor White. I agree. Shout out them NOLA boys. Watch us win the division. Okay, I don't think that's happening, dude. What are the trades that we could make before the deadline to Band-Aid fix for now? There's no trade that's happening that's going to fix what's going on. It's a scheme. It's an approach. It's a little bit of coaching. It's execution. You're not going to find a starting left or right guard or center that is worth anything on any sort of trade list. So I think the Bucs are going to continue with what they're doing and just hope that they figure it out and they click. They look better again in the run game. Honestly, they did look better, but too many mistakes, too many penalties, too many missed assignments, too many missed throws, too many mistakes across the board on both sides of the ball. And, that the defense was kind of, put out to dry a little bit, in my opinion. That they were gassed. They weren't, I don't think they were expecting this hurry up offense. And then when they finally did get off the field, the offense would go 3 plays and give the ball right back. And the defense is like, you can only do so much. We saw this for years when it was a Trent Dilfer and Tony Dungy Bucs. The defense played their asses off, and the offense never helped them out, and they would still lose games. They hold teams at like 10 points, and they still lose games, which is crazy. So again, it's not how things work, because eventually the other team's going to get a good bounce. Eventually their playmakers are going to make plays. And now your team has to respond. And if you can't do that consistently, from an approach and an aggressiveness and standpoint, and from a play calling standpoint, you're going to struggle. And that's what we're seeing right now. We're seeing a team that's not playing complementary football and struggling. We won the turnover margin, and we still lost the game. We could have lost this game by 14 points with winning the turnover margin. So, it's terrible to see, and it's frustrating to watch, because I really do think this team can be a lot better than that they've shown. And the Bills weren't amazing tonight. They are the better team, clearly, but they weren't amazing tonight. This wasn't a team that was going to blow the doors off the Eagles or the Chiefs or even the Bengals, maybe. Like this, they looked like a good team, but they looked like they could have been beaten tonight, like they have in the last few weeks. So again, you tip your hat, but you also look at it with a little bit of context and clarity, and you're like, you know what? Could have won this game if we really put our best foot forward, which I don't think we did. And we haven't done that for 3 weeks now. Same as SoCal O-line again with costly penalties, mainly Mock and Gadecki. Sucked away any momentum that we were getting. Listen, I talked about the Cody Mock thing all week. He's just not there. He's not there yet. Not to say he's not going to get there eventually. Like Ali Marpet was there right from the start. Last year we thought Gadecki was garbage. Now he's one of the best right tackles in the NFL. He had struggled tonight. I think he was hearing a lot of the crowd noise, and I think he was a little bit nervous facing Von Miller and those guys. So aside from tonight, though, he's been a very, very solid tackle for us. Cody Mock got manhandled again. Doesn't run block very well. He looked really bad in pass pro tonight, which is not something that he's done so far this season. He's usually been okay in that. Not sure what his PFF grade will tell me, but he hasn't been a glaring issue in pass pro. Tonight he was an issue on both sides, from a run standpoint and a pass standpoint. Bucs fan 4055. I know it's not all on Baker, but he just looks so unsure out there week in and week out. Yes, something has definitely changed since the New Orleans game. He was more calm and collected. And I think what's happened is that the defense is creating a lot of traffic in place of where those zones and spots are for him to pass the ball. And they're throwing the timing off at the line of scrimmage by going up and jamming every one of our guys. And if you're expecting someone to get open at a certain time, and then you're expecting the next read to be here and that, and then you're going through those and no one's open, you're going back over here. The timing is very, very important. And so people kind of take that out of context when they look at the all 22. Yes, Mike Evans was open after Baker looked away from him. Why didn't he look at him? Maybe he's open when he's not expecting him to be open. And that's a big part of it too. Again, it's progressions and getting open through those progressions. Like it's symphony. It has to work well for it to work. And if you can jam receivers on most teams that operate like that, you can mess up the timing of the routes and the timing of the reads, and then the quarterback struggles. And it looks like right now, Baker's not in a very comfortable space in this offense. And again, if you see that as a fan, why aren't you seeing that as an offensive coordinator and doing something about it? Simplify it. Make it easier. Make it easier for the whole team. Remove the ability for the defense to jam all of your guys by putting some guys off of it. Call a cluster. Call bunches. Those guys don't get touched. Chris Godwin is having no issue off the line of scrimmage because he's the guy in motion. Mike Evans is always just standing still. Put him in motion. There's tons of ways to do this. And I'm not going to sit there and list them all off and pretend I'm an offensive coordinator because I'm not. I'm a fan. But you are, Dave Canales, so you should be able to do these things. I see it across the league, so it's not like it's some secret that no one has given you yet. It's out there. You should know it. You got to figure this out. You got to make this easier for everybody across the board. On a positive note, back the Brinks truck up for Antoine Winfield. My God. Yeah, we talked about it earlier. 100%. Guy's absolutely going to be worth it. He's probably going to get tagged because no one's going to go up 2 first rounders for him, and they'll probably give you a little bit more time to sign him. Bucs look really good. Bucs look really, really good next season for the cap. It's going to be a lot of decisions to make and try to, figure out how they're going to split the money. But I think Antoine and Tristan Wirfs at the top of the list there to get those guys signed up and here for the long term, because I do think we have 2 Hall of Famers right there in one draft. LC Leprechaun says, I agree. We were competitive. Not competent, not competitive enough. There was pride on the field. I don't think they gave up. They didn't look like a team that's quit, which is important. But, I think you could be more competitive schematically. I think you'd be more competitive game plan-wise. I think you'd be more competitive with your approach and your aggressiveness and your ability to pinpoint and game plan for the other team's, philosophy and their other team's strengths and their weaknesses. And I don't think we've done that in the last 3 weeks. We haven't attacked the deficiencies of any of the teams that we faced. And again, that came out to bite us in the butt again tonight. Gregory White says, trade D White at the deadline. You know what? I don't think they're going to do that, but seeing how he's been kind of ineffective, whether it's injury or not, I wouldn't be against it, honestly. I really wouldn't be against it. If you know he's not going to be here, you don't plan on keeping him, might as well get something out of it. Just don't trade him to the Eagles, I guess, hopefully. Mr. Fernandez says, I still want to see what Trask can do. Baker's accuracy has been off the last 3 weeks. Yes and no with the accuracy part. Again, he's been kind of rushed. He's been timid. He's been unsure. So it's hard to, grade the accuracy. I think the accuracy down the field on the long shots, those are low percentage plays most of the time. So it's hard to grade those as inaccurate. If a lot of guys miss those throws, and some of them you got to make, obviously. So I think he's been hot and cold. I just can't pin all this on him. That's my thing. I can't look at what I'm seeing and say this is all Baker. Put in Trask, he'll fix it. He's also been able to get out of so many different sacks that I'm pretty sure Trask won't. And so the offense will look different and bad in a different way. So I feel like you got to figure out how to make this offense work with your weapons. That's my biggest thing. I've been saying it all night. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Figure out ways to get the ball to these guys. Like that end around to Chris Godwin, great. That's awesome. Can we figure out a creative way to get the ball to Mike Evans? This isn't some scrub. Like, why would Mike Evans want to re-sign if he's going to be playing in an offense that's not even going to try to look at him? I mean, like any other team's throwing the ball this guy 9-10 times a game, no matter what, no matter who is covering him. And they're calling plays down the field, middle of the field, in those soft zones that the defense has given them. And they're trying to utilize his talents. The Bucs are not doing that right now. And then whether that's Baker, Canales, the timing of the play, the pass protection, all of those things. I don't care what the fucking excuse is. Sorry, Bleacher Report. Just figure it out. Figure it out. That's it. Just figure it out. Bucs fan for 055 says, I just want to see more creativity. Where are the plays? Where are the scheme? Mike open. Would love to see more design passes to Chad as well. Again, same thing I've been saying all night. I think that's the most frustrating thing tonight. I mean, a lot of Bucs fans probably agree. I have a chat here, a poll in the chat. I said, or I asked you guys earlier, what's the most frustrating part of this team's struggles? 48% of you have voted predictable play calling. 10% say defense on third down. It's an issue for sure. But I don't think it's as big of an issue if the offense can be consistent and consistently move the ball down the field and actually score points. Puts a little bit more pressure on the opposing team's offense, and maybe the defense flies around and plays better, or, momentum is a weird thing. Predictable play calling got 48%, and bad use of Mike Evans got 29%. I agree with that one for sure. This is starting to feel like the same energy from last year. It's the same as SoCal, very flat, unenthusiastic at times. We wait too long to turn up in games. Yeah, I agree. I'm tired of all the talk about how we can do and how we're steadily growing. The walk isn't backing up the talk as much as it should be. Yeah, I don't know what to say to that. I'm sorry. Antoine Winfield Jr. can do no wrong. I'm sure we unanimously agree to pay him and worse over everything else. Anyway, listen. I said a lot. I got a lot off my chest tonight. I'm going to have my co-host Stank and Poppy Latte on with me tomorrow night on our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/@LooseCannonspodcast. Make sure you guys go there, hit subscribe, maybe give us a like before the night is over if you enjoyed my stream here tonight. And obviously join us tomorrow night as we break down and react to the game as a group. And I get a little bit different perspective from those guys and they get their opinions on things. And they'll probably agree with a lot of what I'm saying, but they'll also have some cool things to share as well that are different and make me think and make you think. And we'll have a lot more fun without being able to be under the Bleacher Report umbrella. Again, thank you so much, Bleacher Report, for allowing this, for allowing me to join you guys. And of course, like I said, give us a like, hit that subscribe button, share this video, and hey, we'll see you guys after the next away game. Go Bucs.
Now Tom Brady's at the helm, brought his first mate Gronk. Hell yeah, it's going down, getting nasty in the trenches, man. Nah, they don't want that. Steady Tristan Wirfs, Steve Smith, Ali Marpet, coming acting hungry, getting worked by chancing. Chef until the whistle, boy, you serve them pancakes. Giving Brady time to drop back and hit Cam Brate. First down, Tampa.